12-16. Whether you love or loathe him, Lewis Hamilton is an all-time Formula One great whose talent, achievements and performances will be forever etched in memories and record books, as cheapupdate.net explains. The 2017 Formula One season started as a titanic tussle between two of the sport's greats, representing iconic automotive manufacturers, their Formula One machinery holding the upper hand at various circuits, depending on the layout, circumstance, tires, driving skill, and how the package was utilized. It ultimately turned into an exhibition by a driver and team operating in perfect harmony, with Hamilton gleefully burying Ferrari deeper into the hole which they themselves dug. Once Hamilton had his foot on Ferrari's neck, he did not relent. His coronation with 2 rounds to spare would have been an unthinkable prospect as the sport departed Hungary for its summer break. Despite misguided assumptions to the contrary, Mercedes' W08 is not the dominant force that some believe. Mercedes from 2014 to 2016 operated in a different postcode to its rivals. In 2017 it was firmly in the same street as Ferrari, with Red Bull also an influential factor, increasingly so of late. At the start of the year, Mercedes had to adapt to a driver change, having lost a key component of the technical management team, Paddy Lowe, while trying to retain its hegemony across a substantial regulation change which was designed to halt its march. It took time to get up to speed, its W08 typically lacking at high downforce venues, and on the softest rubber. Mercedes, though, kept cool, and its ability to be self-critical, without the fear factor, became crucial, as it gradually understood its diva package. Hamilton was an integral part of this progress, as he sat down after his 2016 title defeat and understood where he could improve, clearing the air with team boss Toto Wolff, and fine-tuning his communication skills with engineers. Reliability last year aided Nico Rosberg, but so too did a handful of mistakes from Hamilton. This season, only in Monaco did Hamilton seriously miss the boat, stemming from a messy first Q2 lap, which left him in the elimination zone, his fate sealed when Stoffel Vandoorne's crash truncated running. Hamilton delivered a devastating performance on home soil, storming to a sublime pole and win at Silverstone, on a weekend in which Ferrari was pushed to a tire-breaking display by Mercedes' pure pace. But since the summer break, in the words of Wolff, Hamilton has found another level. It mounted the pressure on Ferrari, which cracked. Hamilton should not have won the Belgian Grand Prix. He did. That was down to perfect car placement and defensive work at the late restart, when Mercedes' tire misjudgment handed a gilt-edged chance to Ferrari. Hamilton resisted Vettel and won. Valtteri Bottas, meanwhile, slipped from 3rd to 5th, as a near-identical scenario unfolded a few hundred meters behind. Mercedes was always going to hold the aces in Italy, but Hamilton's wet-weather qualifying performance was spellbinding. He is the class of the field when it rains, providing the platform on which he cantered to victory, as Ferrari put in a subdued display on home soil, in turn, raising the pressure on the Scuderia. On your head, read the cover of Italy's daily sports paper the next day. Then came the miracle of Marina Bay, with pre-race rain throwing a potential trip hazard into Ferrari's path. Vettel, Verstappen and Raikkonen converged, collided, and caused chaos amid a spray of water, carbon fiber and sparks. This was undoubtedly huge for Hamilton and Mercedes, for they unexpectedly profited at Ferrari's strongest circuit and limited the damage on their own weakest track. Labeling the event as lucky, though, is a misguided stance. It was not Hamilton who erred, but Vettel. Even then, victory was not assured. Hamilton's superior getaway launched him above Daniel Ricciardo, and he defied Mercedes' concerns over the W08's pace to cruise away from the Red Bull in race trim. Bottas, meanwhile, was only 3rd. Reliability dramas hurt Ferrari in Malaysia and Japan, but on both occasions Hamilton extracted what he could from the W08. Mercedes engineers could not believe he grabbed pole at Sepang. While Ferrari lost its way, Hamilton and Mercedes kept their eye on the ball, beginning weekends on the front foot, having tripped up a few times earlier in the year, compromising its ability to extract the full potential from the car, Russia being a prime example. Vettel and Ferrari still retained confidence it could challenge, but on an equal footing again in Austin, it was dealt a hammer blow. Hamilton had the assurance in his judgment to make a crucial pre-race setup tweak to suit the windy conditions, kept cool when Vettel took the lead, and simply breezed past his rival with a cocksure calmness. Hamilton's defeat of Vettel was crushing, ensuring that his coronation in Mexico was assured. Each cog, the driver, the teamwork, the development, communication, the reliability, the attitude, the work ethic, the atmosphere, and hundreds more tiny movements and influential decisions, worked in perfect harmony to form a cohesive unit. Hamilton is not impenetrable, but his weaknesses are reducing, and his opponents are having a harder time exploiting them. In the past, Hamilton struggled to cope with setbacks, occasionally losing his way, risking getting sucked into a negative vortex. He has repeatedly spoken this season of knowing Vettel's weaknesses, though Riley refuses to expand when pressed. Whether this is just gamesmanship, who knows, but it is Vettel who cracked this year, not Hamilton. The closest Hamilton came to losing his cool was in Azerbaijan, but even then he was measured and dignified. The anger he directed at Vettel was more through the negative image he felt Vettel had displayed of Formula One, the unsportsmanlike behavior, and the bad example it set to youngsters, as opposed to any personal grievance. There are no black marks against Hamilton. There's no Suzuka 1990 or Jerez 1997, for example. It aptly demonstrated his maturity and personal growth. His jet-setting lifestyle, in which he attends fashion shows, graces the red carpet, and hangs out in music studios, is lazily depicted as one which shows he is not focused, more intent on high-fiving his celebrity friends and documenting his every move on social media, as opposed to dedicating himself to Formula One. It is the exact opposite. Mercedes has sagely given Hamilton the freedom he craves to embark on off-track projects, giving him focus away from the traveling circus, so that he can channel his energy and perform at the highest level in Formula One, a situation also aided by the natural maturity that comes with age and experience. And while he has carefully cultivated his image and transcended motorsport to emerge as a global superstar, Hamilton is rarely happier than when communicating with his fans. The best fans cry is often mocked, and at times in podium ceremonies it is a little hackneyed, but his desire to give something back and to spend time with his supporters is not merely a show for the cameras. It is not uncommon to spot Hamilton spending time with young fans in the paddock. If you love or loathe Hamilton, he is to be admired. A telling remark post-race came from Bottas, who pointedly explained, "I always knew he had a lot of talent, but I didn't know that he works so hard." Formula One is currently blessed, to borrow a favorite parlance of Hamilton, with a kaleidoscope of talent, on which he sits atop. Vettel remains a magnificent driver, whose 2017 challenge was undone by two calamitous misjudgments and two major reliability issues. There is the growth of the precociously brilliant Max Verstappen, who is frighteningly gifted, not to mention the likes of Daniel Ricciardo, a spectacular racer, astonishingly late on the brakes, and the quietly methodical Bottas. Added to the prospect of a renewed McLaren, and the continued emergence of talented youngsters, and 2018 is already a tantalizing proposition, but Hamilton, without a doubt, will be up for the fight. As with all greats, he will not be content to merely rest on his laurels, and will be ready to refine and hone any weak points he may have identified, and put lessons learned this year into practice. Straight after securing Title 4, he was thinking of Title 5. Discussion inevitably turns to Hamilton's status among the fellow greats. Top 10, top 5, top 3, or number 1. Where is he on the list? Could he eclipse Schumacher's 7 titles and 91 wins? Could a century of poles be within reach ultimately? And paradoxically, it is perhaps less relevant than we all like to think. Comparing eras is a futile task, and for all that Formula One is perceived a black-and-white sport of timesheets, positions and statistics, it is more about the moments that take your breath away, that make you stand up and applaud, and acknowledge a spectacular piece of driving. And Hamilton has delivered more than his fair share of those. Hamilton has been a front-runner in Formula One for a decade, and had his highs and lows, but in 2017 he has been peerless. Chapeau. Written by Philip Horton.